Hello and welcome to A Moment with Pastor Thomas. I am so excited. I have with me the very illustrious Sheriff of Newton County, Sheriff Ezell Brown. His term as sheriff has produced substantial benchmarks for the Newton County Sheriff's Office, including creating an Office of Professional Standards and Internal Affairs divisions, achieved state and national accreditation from National Commission and of Correctional Healthcare and American Correctional Association for the Detention Center. Also receiving accreditation from the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, as well as accreditation from the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. Under the leadership of Sheriff Ezell Brown, the Newton County Sheriff's Office obtained the elite status of becoming a Triple Crown agency. There's a total of 159 sheriff's offices in the state of Georgia and over 3,000 in the United States. Newton County Sheriff's Office is one of only 4 in the state of Georgia and 43 in the United States to acquire this esteemed level of certification. He is currently the Regional Vice President of the Georgia Sheriff's Association, Region 2, representing all sheriffs in the metropolitan area, and serves as a chaplain for the Georgia Sheriff's Association. He sits on the board of the Georgia Probation Subcommittee for the Council of Criminal Justice Reform. He is on the board of directors for the Newton County Salvation Army and serves as an executive board member for the Georgia Piedmont Technical College. For his efforts in the field, Mr. Brown has been presented with a certificate of special congressional recognition from Congressman Hank Johnson and the Dr. Martin Luther King Trailblazer Award. He previously received the Physical Fitness Award in SWAT school, in which he's been a member of the SWAT team for 22 years, which is the longest running time. Mr. Brown has attributed his professional success to the guidance and encouragement that he's received from his parents. He maintains community involvement with the Bethlehem Baptist Church and several charities in the area. In the coming time, Mr. Brown is running now for another term, a 4th term as sheriff. He would like to continue to be a bridge between law enforcement and the community and support younger generations in a positive way. So welcome, Sheriff Brown. Welcome. Thank you so much for being with us.
And thank you, Pastor Thomas, for this invite and also this sit down with you. Thank you so much. You never know how much this is appreciated by me.
Yes, sir. Well, the pleasure is all mine. The pleasure is all mine.
Thank you.
So I would like to start off with asking first, how long have you been serving in law enforcement? How long have you?
I've been serving in law enforcement for 47 years here in this county. Wow. I started out with the city of Covington in 1973. I stayed there for a couple of years and a half, about 3 years, and then I went to the sheriff's office in 1977. Started as a deputy. Sometimes I say I started as a floor sweeper, but I started as a deputy and worked my way up to be the first African-American sergeant there, also lieutenant and captain. I've had a great run at, even before being sheriff, being successful there with the office of sheriff. And I worked every division that you can imagine in the office of sheriff. I worked patrol division where I was a supervisor. And during that time, you were supervisor over the jail as well as communications, as well as other areas there. And then I later was transferred to the Criminal Investigation Division, where I spent several years there. And I always considered myself as being one of the best detectives that ever walked through this county, along with others. But also, in 2005, I was assigned the task of managing and tracking all sex offenders who reside in this county. We made great strides in that. It was during the time when very few sheriffs, and which sheriffs are mandated to do. Those are one of the mandates that sheriffs are responsible for in every county, is to maintain the whereabouts of sex offenders. So in 2005, 2006, there was a crime that was committed in Florida where a young girl was abducted and killed. And it brought the sex offenders and their action and the responsibility of the sheriff, it brought it to the forefront. So therefore, I was called to take on that task, to start a sex offender registry unit. Started with primarily just a pen map with a 11 by 8 piece of paper.
Wow.
And I think at the time we had some 60 plus sex offenders residing here in the community, and today we have 300 plus. So just trying to navigate my way and trying to figure out how we could get that information to the general public, 60 sex offenders, and everyone in the community need to know their whereabouts in terms of where they stay, in terms of where they reside, their home, types of vehicles, the whole, as some would say, the whole 9 yards. So I was tasked with that responsibility, and there shortly after I figured there should be a better way. I started communicating with a friend of mine who was there at the GIS office, Ernie Smith. Ernie was very smart guy with computers and GIS services. So I went to Ernie and started talking to Ernie and shared with him my responsibilities and the whole concept. So a couple questions I asked Ernie. I said, Ernie, it's my responsibility to be able to provide to the public the whereabouts of these sex offenders. I say, can you do that on the map? So Ernie said, yes, I can do anything on this map. I said, so you can put up a school? He said, yes. I said, you can put up a playground? He said, yes. I said, you can put up a church? He went on to just tell me all of those things. He said, yes. He said, I can even put up a stop sign as well. Wow. I said, okay. Well, he put all that together. So I got all the schools and everything, playgrounds on a map, something, I guess, a big 36 by 36, and put it on an easel and brought it back to the office, and it looked great. Wow. But I still had a dilemma. Only I could see that map. And there was no way that I could go around in the community to be able to make sure that every resident was aware of the whereabouts. Well, as it would happen, I started thinking about it, and sometimes they say great things happen in the middle of the night. Got up in the middle of the night, and I thought about what Ernie said. Ernie said, I can put a stop sign on this map. And then I said, well, if he can put a stop sign on the map, then he can put everything else on the map. If he can put everything else on the map, then there should be another way. I go to Ernie's office the next day and started asking all those questions. I said, Ernie, can we do a digital print of this? He said, of course. When he said, of course, that was the beginning of the sex offender registry map. So we started that, Ernie Smith and myself, and then we started traveling throughout the state of Georgia for the implementation of some form of mapping system.
Amazing.
But that's one of the things there. I enjoyed that, and all the way up to 2008, I sought the office of sheriff, in which I had, in 1996, I ran for the office in 1996. My predecessor, Joe Nichols, who was the chief deputy at that time, him and I, he was the Republican candidate. I was the Democrat. And at the end, as I always say, Sheriff Nichols got more votes than I did. It was not a loser, not we both was friends. We continued our relationship. I continued to work there at the sheriff's office after 96 all the way through. He continued to lean on me for that trust and responsibility, and it was just a great way of preparing me when he was set to retire. And one of the promises I made in 1996 because I respect the office of sheriff.
Yes.
I respect it dearly. The sheriff is the backbone of the community. The sheriff is the steward of the community, the way I look at it. It's not a political position because you are the sheriff for the rich, the poor, black, white, Hispanic, the saved, and even the non-saved.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
are the sheriff.
Yes.
So, and I promised, and I made a promise to the citizens of this county that as long as Sheriff Nichols was in office and he was doing, carrying out the responsibilities and duties of which he had been elected to do, I would not seek office against him. And that happened. I never thought of running against him. And even if he was the sheriff today and he was still doing a great job, I wouldn't be sheriff because I respect the office of sheriff just that much.
Wow.
And in 2008, when he decided that he was going to retire, I looked at it as being that I met all the qualification. Not only meeting the qualification, I felt that the citizens of this community deserved someone who would be fair to each and every one, and someone who name was somewhat a household name that they could relate to. So with that said, I signed up for it. And after signing up for it, the citizens of this community responded greatly and elected me as their sheriff in 2008.
Amazing, amazing. That's phenomenal, phenomenal. So in 2008, history, of course, was made on a national level, but history also was made here in Newton County in you becoming the first African-American sheriff. Can you speak to that? Can you just walk me through that whole process? How has that been? How was it? Walk us through that whole process.
Let me say this. I never forget. In 2008, I was traveling on Alcova Road. Can I almost take you to the very same spot on Alcova Road? A Caucasian friend of mine called me up and said to me, he said, Ezell, you will probably be the first black sheriff of Newton County.
Wow.
And I responded to him by saying, you know what? I never looked at it that way. I said, I looked at it as being that I was qualified. I just happened to be black. And I just want to be one of the best sheriffs. That's all I want to be.
Absolutely.
And that's the way I have looked at it. I never looked at it. I never waved a flag and jumped up and hooped and hollered and gave out shouts that I'm the first black sheriff. That was never in my forte. Never imagined. As a matter of fact, this is something I very seldom speak about because all I wanted to be is a good sheriff that everyone can trust and have confidence in.
Absolutely. Magnificent, magnificent. As I was reading your bio earlier, I commented and I said to myself, and I even said out loud, that you are the Michael Jordan of sheriffs. And anytime when somebody refers to you, the Michael Jordan of something, that gives great credibility to that person, and just recognizing how awesome that individual is in that particular field. So the question I have is, with you've been successful, even beyond the word successful as it relates to the sheriff's office. So what is it? Is it something intrinsically that drives you just to have such great success, to be the best at what you do, outside of the hand of God just anointing you for this? What else could you speak of to maybe speak to your success? Or
I recall, and I very seldom tell this story, but I remember when I was somewhere between 7 and 9 years of age, I was in my hometown, and at the time, in my mind, I was looking at the lady as being an elderly lady. would think that she was intoxicated. We was downtown on the square, and undoubtedly someone called the police on her, or they knew that she was just a regular person who would get intoxicated. But however, I was standing there, and two officers got out of the car and went over to arrest this lady. And the force that was used against this lady at that time embedded something in me to want to be an officer of the law. And to this day, again, in my mind of minds, I think she was probably now, as I look back, I'm 7, she was probably 40-something. At that time, I was thinking she was 60 or 80. Right. But seeing clearly now, but the force they used against her was totally unnecessary. You had two grown men who were there with a little petite woman, throwing her around as if she was garbage, or just something that they wanted to dispose of. I saw that, and I grew up seeing those officers, until I was some 18 years of age. And one of the things that I never could do, I never could respect those two officers for that. However, I respect the uniform.
Exactly.
But I could not respect them.
Understood.
And I made a decision on that day what I wanted to be. And I wanted to be an officer of the law. I wanted to be an officer that some young boy, some young girl, or just anybody will look up to me and say, I want to be just like him. And that was my dream as a young boy. And I would say today I still have that same dream of wanting to be someone that some other person can look at and say, I want to be just like him.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Well, I can certainly say that you're living out that dream because you have set a model for young and old alike. And so we certainly appreciate the model that you set, and you are living out that dream. So aside from the professional, Sheriff Ezell Brown, I want to talk about the person, Ezell Brown. Can you just tell us a little bit, the viewers, just a little bit about yourself, perhaps your family, your rearing growing up? I know your parents were very strong parents and played a pivotal part in the man that you are today. So just tell us a little bit about the person.
My family, I grew up a large family. I grew up on a farm. It was like 15 of us.
Wow.
And I learned what work was all about at a young age. My upbringing, I had to grow up real fast as a young man because I was born. My older brothers was older than me. I had sisters that was older than me, and then I was set in the middle between girls. So by being in between girls, by the time I was 12 years of age, I was doing what the grown guys was doing because all of the adult boys was gone. So I grew up real fast and being a young man. And I'm proud of that because my dad had all the trust and confidence in me that I could do it. I recall quite well my dad would leave and go various places, and he'd always tell me, you the man of the house, and whatever happens here, you protect the family. I remember that quite well. So I grew up in a family of faith, and I think little that we knew between you and I, my father
Mm-hmm.
and your grandfather,
Absolutely.
right? And now when I think back,
Mm-hmm.
I knew your grandfather and it would be your great uncle, right?
Yes,
Your
yes.
great uncle,
Mm-hmm.
and that mean that we were miles and miles away from one another,
Right.
and of the old Southern note singing,
Yes, yes.
right? And I
Absolutely.
would follow them around
Uh-huh.
from age 7 all the way up till I was 18 years of age,
Mm-hmm.
but I would follow them, and I remember them quite well.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the circle that I was in the old Southern note singing back then.
Wow.
So it also, by that, it also provided me the opportunity to see other male role models
Mm-hmm.
in my life,
Mm-hmm.
outside of my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Just so many individuals played a role in my
Mm-hmm.
life, but my dad was that foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and my mom was that mortar mix that
Mm-hmm.
was put
Mm-hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
laying of the blocks,
Mm-hmm.
of that foundation.
Yes.
And eh, I give credit to them. I give credit to my great grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
I give credit to her. Um, just had a wonderful upbringing. We
Mm-hmm.
had just a loving
Mm-hmm.
family. We were we didn't have everything,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to think growing up until I got here,
Mm-hmm.
I used to think that we were poor. and, and later on, I
Mm-hmm.
look back at life
Mm-hmm.
and realize that we had shoes, we
Wow.
had shelter, we had all the food that we wanted because
Wow.
we raised our own animals, we raised our own food.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that said, that meant that I had to learn how to harvest, the
Amazing.
crops. I had to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to take care of the animals, and
Mm-hmm.
the animals, I took care of them in
Mm-hmm.
order to buy supplies for
Mm-hmm.
schools,
Absolutely.
clothing, and all of those things.
Absolutely.
Not only just for me,
Mm-hmm.
but the other kids in the
Mm-hmm.
family as well. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a great upbringing. And again, even if I had the opportunity to go back and do it again, as
Uh-huh.
some would say, to be born into a financially wealthy family
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or a blessed wealthy family.
Wow.
Give me the blessed wealthy
Absolutely.
family.
Gotcha.
So it was an amazing life, and I still love it. And we are one close knit family. Had to go to church. Had to go to church. They was my dad was a deacon,
Mm-hmm.
deacon of the. He was the chairman of the deacon, and he held all positions with the note singing,
Mhm.
Southern Note
Mhm.
Singing
Mhm.
Convention,
Mhm.
and he also reached the top level in the Masonic.
Mhm.
So he was. I think a lot of I guess short of words, the guts of
Mhm.
getting out doing things,
Right, right.
perhaps was motivated by seeing him just get up and do
Yeah,
things. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. But like I said, I had a strong spiritual background. Myself, that still stand true today.
Mhm.
I joined Bethlehem Baptist Church in the early 70s.
Mhm.
I think it was around late 73, 74
Mhm.
when I moved away.
Mhm.
I moved here. And one of the things my father told me,
Mhm.
when you move,
Mhm.
you go find a church home.
Right.
Even though I was a member of the church in South Georgia,
Mhm.
he said the first thing, you go find a church home.
Wow.
Well, I had a brother that was here,
Okay.
and he was going to church here.
Ah.
So I started coming here.
Oh.
Little that I knew, I went back and told my father,
Mhm.
who was the pastor
Mhm.
of the church, and my father knew
Wow.
the pastor of the church
Wow.
right here, and he recalled him from being back in the early 50s.
Mhm.
He was a teacher
Mhm.
in the area, so.
Wow.
Yeah, so and
Amazing.
my father was always active in the community,
Mhm.
helping others, and I have that same passion. Today, I'm here at Bethlehem. When I started out with Bethlehem Baptist Church, I was just eager to do anything. I would help keep even though we had groundkeepers, I would come down, I would cut bushes away, I would haul it away. Even I joined every ministry here, from the male chorus to the Mitchell Choir. I'm on the praise team, chairman of the finance committee.
Yes.
I am the deacon here. And I even cook on Sundays.
Yes.
I was used to run the bus route here every Sunday to make sure the kids and most important, I make sure the elderly would get here on Sundays. It was just it's just a calling.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I believe in giving back to the community. And you have to give back to the community, and just more than just finance.
Right.
You give back, you pour your heart out to help those who are less fortunate, and those who I feel, again, the less fortunate ones, or the kids who can't make it here on Sunday because of transportation, the elderly who no longer can drive, or who have vehicles, or whatever the case may be. So that's the way I am today. I have a giving heart.
Yes.
Because I was brought up that way. Sometimes I say today, and I've heard others say, you would have more if you would just keep some of your money in your pocket. Well, this is it, Pastor. I said, I'm blessed. I have access to all the money in the world because I believe
Absolutely
in the man above.
That's it.
And that's me.
That's
so
it.
as long as I'm helping others, then my help will come
Yes.
from him.
Yes.
And one of the songs I would always sing, all of my help come from the Lord.
Absolutely. Yes. And we do lean on you for everything here. So those you who may not know, that Deacon Brown serves faithfully at our church, and anything that needs to be done, we're calling on him. So on behalf of our church and as my pastor, I want to say thank you for that as well. And you spoke to the fact of your giving heart, and you do have a very giving heart, because I was having a conversation with one of our members. This was some time ago, and she just said, Pastor, my grass was growing up, and it was growing up very high. And one day I just looked out the window. I heard the lawnmower going, and I just looked out the window, and somebody was cutting my grass, and it was Sheriff Brown out there cutting my grass. So that speaks to the heart that you have for the community, for the church. This speaks of the heart that you have. And so speaking of that, I want to ask a question. How does because you're very strong in your faith. Anybody who knows you or knows anything about you, that I believe that's one of the pillars of you, is that you're strong in your faith in Jesus Christ. So how does that, impact what you do, like on a daily basis?
Well, before we go there, let me just mention something else about my giving. In terms, I recall when it was the wood burning days around Covington, and what I would do is there were certain elderly ones in the community. I would cut firewood, and haul it to them each and every year free. Right. That was just,
wow. Amazing.
I would just cut the wood and just give it to them. And I was blessed by just doing that. Right?
Wow.
I was blessed by doing that.
Wow.
And back to your question, about the giving heart.
Yes, the giving heart, and the fact that you do have a giving heart, and how does that, your faith, because you're very strong in your faith. How does that?
Let me say this, is that through I had a strong upbringing, and my father would always tell me this. He would say, anytime there is a decision to be made between right and wrong, he said, never put your car in neutral.
Wow.
Never put your car in neutral. He said, I want you to always use these principles every day, all the walks in life. He said, number one, he said, if you're on a job, you have policy. He said, you have to obey the law. He said, you stay within the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
He said, then you do what's morally right.
Mm-hmm.
He said, but most importantly, he said, do what's godly right.
Wow. Wow.
He said, use those principles
Mm-hmm.
in all that you do.
Mm-hmm.
He said, if you use those principles,
Mm-hmm.
he said, in any decision
Mm-hmm.
that you're about to make,
Mm-hmm.
nevertheless, don't be concerned about the naysayers or whoever.
Right.
Use those principles, put your car in drive,
Mm-hmm.
and drive on.
Wow.
And that is the way I make my decision.
Wow.
I look at it to
Mhm.
determine whether it's morally right, whether it's
Mhm.
godly right, whether it's
Mhm.
within policy, whether it's
Mhm.
within the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
You do that.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And you don't have to worry about whether you're fair.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to worry about whether you're equal.
Mm-hmm.
If you take those 5 principles there
Mm-hmm.
and use them in your decision making, as he said, you're going to always be out front.
Wow.
And he instilled that in me when I was a little boy growing up, and I still do that right today. I recall a gentleman came by the office, and he was very adamant about something, and I was trying to show him
Mm-hmm.
where he was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what I said to him. I said, I tell you what, I'll show you how I am.
Mm-hmm.
I said, now, if you,
Mm-hmm.
because what he was about to do was going to be against the law, was going to be against policy.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, but let me tell you, I said, if you can find that we're not violating any of these principles here, and I explained those principles,
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know what I will do?
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me and said, no. I said, we can go over and rob the bank right now, and I'll be the first one kick the door down. The young man looked up at me, hugged me, and said, Sheriff, you saved me. I didn't look at it like that.
Wow. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Amazing. And that's the blessing of having someone with a heart of God, a godly heart
Exactly.
in these leadership positions, positions as is. Wow. Amazing. So, Sheriff, I want to know, what are your thoughts on this current climate? What are your thoughts with everything going on?
Well, it's difficult times now, unprecedented times,
Mm-hmm.
especially with social media.
Mm-hmm.
Social media is driving a wedge
Mm-hmm.
between citizenry
Mm-hmm.
as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
It's because so much can go out
Right.
unfiltered
Mm-hmm.
and unchecked.
Mm-hmm.
I told the news media a couple of weeks ago, when we was talking about social media, and I explained to the person that the sheriff's office is not a social media organization. You know, we're there to put out facts and make the community aware of their surrounding and keep them safe.
Mm-hmm.
I said, no one control the on and off switch of social media but that person who is sending it out.
Absolutely.
I said, so you can't just have someone to sit and watch social media all day long to try to combat every negative thing that have gone out.
Mm-hmm.
I see it all the time. I'm always, I guess, liked or unliked. Things are said about me in the media. I don't have time to combat all of that because I need to put my energy, and I take that as being, that's the reason why we've been so successful.
Right.
I take my energy and put it into positive things rather than negative things. I look at social media also as being like the tobacco industry back in the 60s and the 70s.
Okay.
Everybody was smoking cigarettes. Everybody thought it was cool. Everybody thought it was hip. And then when they found out it was a great addiction, then that's when they started to do something about the nicotine and so
Yes.
forth, the ingredients
Yes.
in the tobacco.
Yes.
Wanted to put some type of control on it. And we are there now with
Wow.
social media.
Wow.
If you think about it,
Wow. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you think about it,
Yeah.
that's where we are right today.
Wow.
Lives have been lost
Yeah.
because of social media. Families have been destroyed because of social media.
Wow.
Churches have been destroyed because of social media. And if we're not careful, this country and these small cities and counties will be destroyed as a result of social media. I'm dealing with something this week where Secretary of State's office called me this morning. I think it was Monday. Someone donated a billboard truck and had them to come down and ride through the county.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
supposed to come and ride through the city.
Uh-huh.
And I guess the billboard driver, the driver of the truck, apparently didn't know or whatever. But however, he saw other trucks with signs on them, and he drove past the voting precinct. And when he drove past the voting precinct, a photo was taken of it, and then it was circulated to the Secretary of State's office. And I talked with the media on yesterday, and I encouraged them to, investigate it. I even talked to the Secretary of State's office this morning and encouraged them to investigate it, and I gave them play-by-play as far as what happened. The person, now trucks all day long, keep in mind,
Right.
trucks all day long
Yeah.
with Biden, Harris
Exactly.
flags, Trump, Pence flags,
Uh-huh.
had been going up and down there all
Exactly.
day long. And that video truck went up, and the deputies stopped it. When the deputies stopped it, they informed him that he could not be on that street. And he complied. He said, okay, wasn't aware of it.
Right.
He goes and parks some 300-400 feet away from that building. Well, I think it was said that he rode around like on 278 and other areas in the community. Then he came and parked about 400 feet away. Well, we had our county coroner. He was going through, and the deputy stopped him. Upon stopping him and told him that he couldn't come through. Then he had some questions. He called me. I saw the board. He called me and asked me, is that legal? And I told him, I said, we're not going to thread the needle.
Right.
I said, we're going to be good stewards.
All right.
I said, my truck is some 300 or 400 feet away, and I want you to do the same thing for your truck.
Right.
Stay within that 150 or whatever. So he said, done deal, Sheriff. But guess what? The other trucks kept riding
Wow.
by. And I told my deputies, we're not going to get into a fight over flags coming through. I think it could be petty,
Right.
and one side or the other. And I told them, if a Trump Pence truck come through, it's a different thing if they just coming through. I said, but if it's only one time, let them go. If it's a Biden truck come through, Harris truck come through with a flag on or whatever, I said, let them go. That's a public street, and I said, we don't want to start any turmoil within our community over this campaign or over anything else. And so that's what happened. Also, after I got the call about the video truck, I go over to the voting poll. Well, when I go to the voting poll, I went there for two things. Number one, I had received a number of complaints about the conditions that the voters was enduring.
Right.
And number two, I got a call someone had collapsed about that. And I also want to check on about the truck to make sure that no trucks was in violation. It was said that I was over there campaigning. Well, the fact of it is, the sheriff has constitutional authority that
Absolutely.
a lot of folks just totally not aware of. I believe it's section 1610, I believe, section 3. I may be off on my just by memory, but it states clearly that the sheriff is to attend the place of places of election or any election from the beginning to the ending of that day.
Wow. Wow.
So it gives the sheriff the power
Absolutely.
to go to the poll and investigate and determine what's going on.
Exactly.
And as I told someone, I say, even though there are laws that prohibit any other person, what you had is sheriffs back in the old days. We have constitutional authority. Now, the legislators put something in place to cover other candidates, but the sheriffs work under the power of the Constitution.
Right.
So, with that said, the sheriffs put in place years ago where you had only a sheriff in these small towns that they could attend what? The elections. Because it was no
Absolutely.
one else to
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
provide security.
Exactly.
So that's one of the things there the voters just need to know that I would never do anything to
Right.
jeopardize my character, nor would I do anything to embarrass the office of sheriff. The next close thing, I say the closest thing to me outside of the man above is that booklet. I take my Bible and I take my office of sheriff booklet,
Yes.
and that's what I live and go by.
Yes.
That's what I live and go by, and we have amazing constitutional duties and authority.
Yes.
That's just one, but there's probably 50 or 60 different constitutional duties that we have to carry out.
Right.
And that's one of them. You must go to the poll,
Yes.
attend the election from
Yes.
the beginning to the ending. That's what it says.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just think right now that I wish that everybody would take a deep breath and calm down. I'm not going to do anything to, again, embarrass myself, my family, my church home, the office of sheriff. I definitely wouldn't do that. And as I've said to everyone many times before, I do not need to be the sheriff bad enough to do anything that's not proper,
Right.
that's not godly,
Right.
and that's not within the law, not within the Constitution, and within policy.
Right.
Right. I don't need to be the sheriff. There's other things that could be waiting for me, but no, I wouldn't, because you have another 158 sheriffs, and if I would embarrass myself, then it's an embarrassment on another 158 sheriffs, and that's the way I look at it.
Right.
We all are brothers and sisters, and we protect one another, and the protection of one another is that you carry out your fundamental duties of which you have been called to, elected to do, and that you do not give up
Right.
the powers that have been bestowed upon you by the Constitution of Georgia.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's one of the things that I'll as long as I'm sheriff, I'll fight and I'll defend it.
Absolutely. 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 Well, We have here Sheriff Ezell Brown, a man of great integrity, a man of great character. He is going up again for yet another term of Sheriff of Newton County. Listen, we want everybody to get out to the polls and make sure you've heard all about him. He's a man of faith. He's a man of integrity. You see his passion. Sheriff, if I was not a pastor, after talking to you now, I would want to be a policeman. but want to thank you so much for your service to Newton County. Also, I want to thank you personally for your service to Bethlehem Baptist Church. I've seen you work closely for 2 years now,
That's
and
right.
I've seen your passion for the office of sheriff. I know that you love it dearly. I know you love your church home, and service is at your heart. That's the core of who you are. You're a man of faith, and you're a man of service as well. So are there any parting words that you'd like to give to our viewers as it relates to anything?
I would say that I urge each and every last one of you, this is a very important election. This is an election that you should not stay home and trust that it's going to be okay, and you wake up on November the 4th and realize that it didn't go the way it should have gone, or it didn't go the way that you have preferred that it go. And as I've said many times before, let's forget about the politics. Let's forget about the friendship, the kinship, and let's vote on leadership. That's what we need for this county. And I have proven to each and every last one of you that I am a proven leader. As the pastor spoke earlier about, we being number out of 159 counties in the state of Georgia, that we being in the top 4. And in the United States of America, there's more than 3,600, just like our organization, and we're in the top 40s. And I was getting ready to call you sheriff, so there's a calling.
That's yours.
I can say this, that we are recognized all over the world as being one of the best organizations. We're called upon as leaders. We have agencies that will fly here and look at what we do. At any given time, we have those other brother, sister, sheriff's organization will fly here to see what we do. One of the things I can say on all of those accolades when it comes to the accreditations and accreditations, we have always received a 100 straight across the board. Wow. From the initial assessment all the way up to the recertification. We have always scored a 100, and each and every time we have gone to the national, I am proud of those men and women who work for me. But each and every time that we have gone to the national, we have other organizations standing outside wanting to go in to see how we perform, because they want to see an agency that consistently get 100 straight across the board. Wow. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to go to the polls and vote. I'm asking for your support now, and I promise that you will not regret it. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.
Well, family, thank you so much. That's our time with Sheriff Ezell Brown. And Sheriff, it was Andrew Young that recently did an endorsement, and I'm going to close with as what he said. So I'm going to say Newton County, as the words of Andrew Young, if it ain't broke, then don't fix it. Listen, we know what we need to do. Sheriff Ezell Brown, let's get to the polls. Let's make it happen. God bless you.